I think the key focus for us has always been about making sure that we're creating opportunities for curiosity within our residents. Oftentimes when people are moving into what they call quote unquote retirement living, it almost seems as if it's a passive lifestyle, but we're really wanting to encourage engagement and being active and empowered.
Yeah.
And so when we create and design not only the spaces, but the programming that's centered around that, we're looking at trying to give them opportunities of experiences that create connection.
Tips from Trestle is brought to you by eMenu Choice Point of Sale, Wizox AI, and Benny Keith Foods. Welcome to Tips from Trestle, the Senior Living Food and Hospitality Podcast. This podcast explores the senior living industry with a unique focus on food, hospitality, and the community experience. I'm your host, Aaron Fish. My goal for this podcast: educate, inform, and inspire leaders in senior living. How? By bringing the resident and customer experience to the front of mind in our industry. We should bring the passionate spirit of food and hospitality to everything that we do and everyone we serve each and every day. So what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. On today's Tips from Trestle, I'm chatting with Sharalene Roper, the Chief Operations Officer at Ignite Living. With a background in leadership and operations for faith-based senior communities, Sharalene focuses on creating environments where older adults can age with dignity, purpose, and connection. She is passionate about integrating hospitality, wellness, and thoughtful design into senior living so residents and their families feel genuinely supported. In this conversation that took place at last year's Georgia Senior Living Association conference, we're going to explore her journey in senior living, how Ignite Living is redefining care for aging adults, and the practical insights she's learned walking alongside families through some of life's most important decisions. Enjoy. Sharalene, thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Absolutely. This is exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation because we're here at the Georgia Senior Living Association, and you are presenting on a topic that really catches my eye. It's part of what I do. It's hospitality-driven design and independent living. And I'm intrigued by this because I really think independent living is really hotel resort style living. And so I want to get into your thinking, your approach, and how you at Ignite do this. And so let's just start at the beginning, right? So how can hospitality principles be used or adapted to enhance that comfort and community in a senior living community?
Absolutely. And a lot of times people think that hospitality really is centrally focused around independent and active aging. But that's
Right.
not necessarily the case at all. You can actually utilize hospitality, even assisted living. What you're really trying to promote is the empowerment and the engagement of every single resident that you're serving.
Yeah.
And it really is more about not necessarily large cost investments, but it's really being intentional about creating intentional moments where the actual individual resident is being seen and they feel valued.
Yeah.
And it could be different depending on every single individual that you're serving.
I love that. We were just talking on another podcast about how do you, in the sales process, get residents to be seen. So I feel like this theme of how to do that is just more and more prevalent in our industry, which is invaluable. When you think about specific design elements around this, what do you see? What have you found in your communities that have been most effective in fostering that engagement and really bringing out daily enjoyment for the residents in living there?
I think the key focus for us has always been about making sure that we're creating opportunities for curiosity within our residents. Oftentimes when people are moving into what they call quote unquote retirement living, it almost seems as if it's a passive lifestyle, but we're really wanting to encourage engagement and being active and empowered.
Yeah.
And so when we create and design not only the spaces, but the programming that's centered around that, we're looking at trying to give them opportunities of experiences that create connection, something that they're looking forward to doing as opposed to something that they're just passively being a part of.
Yeah. I think that connection and that engagement piece is so important because we know one of the reasons they come to senior living is to get away from the social isolation, to be more connected.
Yes.
And so thinking about how design can be a part of that, I think is interesting. And so when you think about communities, independent living communities specifically, how can they bridge the connections inside the community with the neighborhoods around them? Because if you're in independent living, you're active, you're probably looking to be out and about. And so you want to think of the community in that broader sense.
It's funny because retirement, as I mentioned earlier, seems that it's something that we're just allowing life to pass us by, but it really is almost a rediscovery of self.
Yeah.
So we've spent years of either raising families or working as a professional in a certain field. And now it's now what? Right. And so it's a big, huge question about what is my new identity and how can I change that? And so when we look at it from a purpose-filled lens, it becomes exciting. And one of the ways that you can do that is, again, remembering that connection is the driver.
Yeah.
And if we establish the fact that we understand that our elders should be honored, they're a wonderful part of society and they're valuable, and give them opportunities to do that. And the best way to do that is for our owners and operators to get connected within the community. It's with your area churches. It's with doing volunteer programs. It's also with your centralized government that's local. Once they become champions for your community, that's when engagement truly does happen. And you find that it's not just opportunities for your local leaders to get involved, but it's for our residents to go back into the communities and pour their experiences, their passions back into the community. And it really does foster a really healthy lifestyle, not just for your residents, but for that outlying community of citizens.
Yeah. I love the fact that you brought in like the community government, right? Because they're, especially in the independent living community, the mass of human resources from the volunteering and knowledge experience perspective is untapped. I think a lot of times it's such a huge opportunity. I can't imagine how it wouldn't be something that a community would want to take advantage of.
And you know, what's funny is we have to remember, we're not trying to put them in a bubble. That's not what we want to do. We want to give them opportunities to reach out. And oftentimes what we've seen is when we have really successful relationships with all of those entities that I mentioned before, we find that they are coming in, they're pouring into our communities. And many times they're very much actively involved in our daily events and activities that we do. And it's become something beautiful. I know with several of our communities, we've had great partnerships with Intergenerational Connection, and we do ongoing programs. The simple thing that we do is tech days every single month, and the high schoolers come over to our communities and teach our seniors how to do tech. But we also have a seat at the table at football games where they have a special section where they're honored and the football players come out, and our cheer section, which is our residents, are supporting their activity. So there's wonderful ways that you can, again, create that intergenerational connection and foster that sense of value and purpose for every single resident that we serve.
Every time I see an intergenerational program, it warms my heart. I just think like such a great opportunity to continue to like build those connections, pass it on to the community, and share that knowledge that our residents have. So invaluable. So let's talk about the physical plant for a little bit. When you're working with architects and community managers, how do you get them to collaborate to create the right kinds of spaces for encouraging the social interaction and connection that we've been talking about?
Technology continues to drive changes in senior care, and that includes food service. eMenu Choice is an award-winning point-of-service application for managing the dining function in senior living communities. This mobile, touchscreen-enabled software enhances the dining experience for residents while streamlining processes for staff. The flexibility and functionality of eMenu Choice makes it an effective solution for any type of senior living environment, from independent and assisted living to skilled nursing facilities. It works for production kitchens or restaurant-style service with options for per meal or a la carte pricing, and accommodates a variety of payments, including bill to account, meal credits, and credit cards. Created by a senior care provider with more than a century of experience serving older adults, eMenu Choice eliminates communication barriers between staff and residents while enabling person-centered choices and greater resident satisfaction. eMenu Choice, transforming dining for senior living.
Years ago, I used to think we are the end users. But in reality, it's really not the owner or the operator. The end user is the residents.
Yeah.
And so it's very important that when you're picking and choosing an architectural firm, that they truly understand the essence and spirit of who you are and what you're trying to celebrate, which is the resident. And so it's important for them to understand that this is where they're going to live, work, and play. And how do we create those opportunities for connection?
Yeah.
What can you do in spaces? Can it be a flexible space? Does it really promote independence and active aging? For us, that's super important.
Yeah.
But then there's the logistic from the operational side that says, we want to make sure that we're creating spaces that allow us to have very fluid operations so that the resident gets the best high-level experience that we could offer to them.
Yeah. Do you find recently with construction costs and everything going up, do you find that the flexible spaces are more and more valuable and more of a focus for development?
Absolutely. And I always often say, people will say, we don't have the space. And I say, create it. Why not bring the indoors, outdoors? I'll give you a great example. When we do sound bowl therapy, we do that in the resident gardens. What better place to do that, right? And so they're actually having their therapy sessions outside and they're doing mindful breathing. A great example that I'm planning on using later on this afternoon, take that same space and later on in the evening, convert it and do outdoor drive-in movie theater for them.
Oh, yeah.
Complete with sliders and poodle skirts and leather jackets.
Yeah, very
and
cool.
so there's ways that we can take those spaces and really maximize every square footage. A lot of it has to do with allowing our staff members and residents to have intentional buy-in and have a voice.
Yeah.
And so together with that partnership and that collaboration, you create something very unique and beautiful property to property.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, do you find that from a corporate level, a lot of times we think about, we build a program, we want the program to go down because we know it'll be successful and we can make sure that we hit the mark. But do you find sometimes it's more about setting guardrails and letting communities do what they need to do to be successful?
Absolutely. It's important for every staff member to truly embrace the idea of our mission, right? And the uniqueness of each of our properties in our organization. But at the same time, you don't want to handcuff the staff or the residents because it's that same uniqueness and individuality that really can celebrate something beautiful. And that's what most people are attracted to.
Yeah.
Most of the time when people are looking to move into a property, they're not necessarily making a decision based on a piece of paper. They're going into a place because of what it evokes in them.
Yeah.
What am I feeling when I go into this space? What connections can I have?
Yeah. We were talking earlier on another podcast about everybody's got a really nice looking building. Everybody's got kind of all those basics and bells and whistles. So like you're saying, the connection and the program and the community inside that you build really becomes invaluable.
And I think too, it's important to realize that when you allow some creative control to the staff, there's more buy-in. And when they see the end product in front of their eyes and they witness the transformation in the lives that they're serving, all it does is just create more excitement. And they can't wait to do the very next event and create the next opportunity.
Yeah, it's like a snowball effect.
Absolutely.
Almost. So just here we go, let it roll downhill.
Yeah, we did it wrong a couple of years ago where we tried to make it fit a certain way in a certain model.
Yeah.
But when we really embrace their own ideas and help them to be educated on where we were trying to go and share our heart with them, it's amazing the transformation and seeing the way the staff today are. And they understand for us, we are very mission driven.
Yeah.
And to see the light bulb come on, even with our maintenance staff, our housekeeping staff, the pride that they take in everything they do.
Yeah.
And understanding the value that they bring to the table in their role.
Yeah.
It's been life-changing for the resident and our staff.
Yeah. I love hearing that being intentional the way you are about it. It's breaking down those departmental silos. And it's not about you do your thing and I'll do mine. It's what can we do together to serve our residents? Love that so much.
And you know, what's funny is a lot of times as leaders, we often will do training sessions, right? With Ignite Living, we try to encourage our staff. If there's time available and you have a passion for something and there's an event going on, go be a part of it.
Yeah.
Because there's no better way for our staff to truly understand the importance of what we do than watching the impact they're making on the resident firsthand.
Yeah. It's almost like role playing in real life.
Yes.
One of the things that we as an industry know we have to do is we want to make sure our residents feel safe and they feel supported. And so when you think about the physical design of a building or the program design of a community, what do you do to promote that so residents feel that?
Certainly you can do that through the design, but I think the most important thing is remembering education is empowerment. And so when we allow them to take their seat back at the driver's seat,
Yeah.
it changes everything. Oftentimes with everyone, we all are a little fearful of the unknown. And so when we share with them, these are the things that you may be concerned about, but there are solutions. And if we can provide solutions.
For over a century, Benny Keith has been a trusted leader in the food service industry. As a broadline distributor, we offer an extensive selection of products, delivering to 21 states through 10 distribution centers. We can help you create a thriving culinary culture by pairing quality products with customized solutions that elevate your residents' dining experience. Our team of registered dietitians provide unmatched customer service by modifying menus, selecting recipes, ensuring regulatory compliance, and more. Quality, value, and service are at the heart of everything we do. Benny Keith Foods puts the care back in healthcare.
Solutions and support. And that's why bringing that outside community in is so important, because we're not perfect and we're not really professionals in every single field, but I know someone that does. And so when we connect those people, those resources with our residents, that gives them the opportunity to understand, I don't have to live fearfully. And so we create spaces for them where there's clear sight lines and there's things that are done underlying that help them to be promoting aging in place and feeling like they do have that sense of independence that they really are looking for. That's when it's a win.
Yeah, definitely. It gives them a little bit more control
Absolutely.
over their space.
And dignity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We talked earlier about bringing the community in. I'd love for you to share a couple of examples from your communities that have really stood out to you that maybe somebody could try and replicate in their communities.
Sure. I think it's really easy for each of us to turn on the news and be really sad sometimes.
Yeah.
And so for several years, I felt that. And we had a new mayor that came into town, and I decided to take her to lunch one day and just share my heart with her. And she shared hers. And about 18 months ago, we both had decided we've got to pour into these young kids. And how do we do that?
Yeah.
And it took about a year because she was new in her role and I had to be patient. But the partnership has been amazing. And we just created a pen pal program where our senior adults are writing to the elementary school age children.
Okay.
They're all writing in cursive. So they're reintroducing cursive writing to the children. And they're beginning to have this connection that's in written form. But eventually that will become something physical where they're seeing each other one-on-one. And why is that important? Because the wisdom and the experience of our aging adult so important.
Yeah.
It's getting our communities back to the grassroots and teaching our children things that they probably didn't know. The oral history is being lost because in some ways we are a little too technology, right?
Yep.
So we have too much technology. And so I think that bridging that gap is very important. That's a great example of one of the ways that we're doing that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I would have never thought of a pen pal program.
Yeah.
So something, it seems very simple,
Yeah.
but the impact it can have, because it's just going to grow and grow as those kids get older and older. You just talk a little bit about a technological way of doing connection and doing those things. And so I do want to touch on how can we use technology to extend the hospitality of a community, the engagement, just beyond the physical design elements, because I think there's opportunity there for sure.
Absolutely. And we cannot negate the fact that we will continue to be technology forward. That's never going to go away. And again, we talked about that fear factor that's involved in that. And again, making sure that we're doing giving every opportunity for education. When senior adults realize how much technology can really be life-changing for them, they're not as afraid.
Yeah.
We also have to recognize the fact that demographic is quickly changing with our baby boomers. That's such a large group of individuals in such a large age range. But the younger baby boomers are much more driven. They are very selective and they know what they want and they're looking for experiences. And how do we get that to them? For us on our operational background and standpoint, we were having challenges just with staffing, for instance, in the dining room.
Yeah.
And one of the ways we were able to solve that is with robotics. And I think there's some that are out here today. You think that one small change, we held our breath collectively because we were a little afraid that it would be met with some resistance from the residents. But
Yeah.
in fact, when we got them involved early on in the process and had clear communication and shared with them our hearts on what we were trying to provide,
Yeah.
it completely changed. We went with one robot. They requested two. Now they've named them Rosie and Robbie, and they love them.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, that's great. They have robots. What did that do? What it did is it freed up our staff to be able to have those intentional moments with the
Yeah.
resident. The thing that we wanted the most is
Yeah.
the connection, the relationship. And so instead of battling with platters of food and quickly trying to hurry back and forth,
Yeah.
now they had time to be present, which is what we wanted.
Yeah. I love that example because every time somebody talks to me about the use of robots, they're like, yeah, we can't figure it out. We don't understand what the deal
Yeah.
is about it. It's just a way to waste money. And I'm like, no, it's like you just said, it's about reintroducing the person to the people and that connection. Let the robot run those plates.
Anything that we can do with technology to really enhance their life is going to be the best thing. It will never replace the human connection.
Yeah.
That will always be at the forefront. That hospitality driven mindset is super important to if we really want our residents to have a thriving, vibrant life.
Yeah, I love that. Sharalene, as we wrap up here, I would love for you to think about your presentation that you're giving here at the conference. If there was one kind of aha moment, and you probably already said it, but I want to reiterate it. What is that one aha that the listeners should take away and try to use in their operation?
Absolutely. I think and it's a tangible tool. It's very important that we treat our residents not as numbers. And I know that's really hard, especially for owners and operators. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure to what we do.
Yeah.
However, if we take the time to really understand the needs and wants and dreams of each individual resident, we do that through surveys as they come in.
Yeah.
And it's a deep dive because we do centralize everything we do based on the 8 dimensions of wellness. How can we do that and do it successfully unless we truly know who they are as a person? When we take that into effect and create programming and design spaces that are centralized to those surveys and that information, now we're actually addressing the actual need of every individual. And so what happens is they're staying longer. They're happy. We're being financially responsible. We have stronger sustainability in our numbers and our occupancy rates. And we have an incredible referral program that's just built in with our residents and their families.
Yeah, I love that. An ROI to it all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sharalene, tell the listeners about Ignite. If they can learn more about the work you guys are doing, I'd love for you to do that.
Sure. Thank you. We are a nonprofit organization. We've been around for almost 60 years, and we serve active and independent aging adults. And we do our very best to make sure that all of our program is centered first. And so we look through the lens of the 8 dimensions of wellness. So we're looking at the entire whole person and not just one specific piece. Because when we're, even for you and I, addressing every wellness need, we live longer.
Yeah.
And so we really strive to look at more longevity living as opposed to just housing,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And so you can find out more about us on igniteliving.com and follow us on Facebook as well.
Perfect. Thank you for taking time away from the conference to sit down with me. And thanks for joining me today on Tips from Trestle.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you. So there it is, everybody. Another one in the books. Thanks again for tuning in. Please follow and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us on social media at Tips from Trestle. You can also learn more about the work I do by following me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. And be sure to check out Trestle Hospitality Concepts at www.trestlehospitalityconcepts.com. I'm your host, Aaron Fish, and this has been another episode of Tips from Trestle.